You ready to do this, Matt?
Yes, sir. Punch it, Chewy.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot is Matt Shaw. We're two nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 177. We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on the website forthenerd.com. We have links to iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts are available. Stop by and relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. Matt, it's good to be back here with you. It's a Monday. The only reason I know today's a Monday is because we record the podcast. Because, man, don't these days seem like they're all just blending together?
Yeah, the only day is today. That's the only day. What day is it? Today. It's today. Yeah, it's been... Yeah, I mean...
One long day.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're living through Groundhog's Day. That's what this is.
It is. It is. I just watched it last week and I was like, man, I feel like I'm Bill Murray right now and that I can do anything I want.
We thought about watching it and I went, no, it's too on the nose right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's why I watched it. It was great. It was great. Yeah, I mean...
So what's going on, man? What's happening?
So... Okay, look, I'm just going to say it. It's lots of Animal Crossing when the kids go to bed. That's just what we do a lot of. Yep. But we also this week took a little break from that and we finished The Tiger King, including the new episode that was released yesterday.
We haven't seen that one yet.
I loved that show. Jesse and I had so much fun watching that show. Yep. It was, I get the hype. And I also get that there are people out there that are like, I don't get the hype. So I kind of see both sides. If you don't like outrageous, weird characters, then it's not for you. If you're like looking for like a serious documentary.
It's a train wreck. It's not a serious documentary. It's a train wreck, start to finish. You just can't take your eyes off it.
No, it's amazing. Every episode you're like, wait, what? I thought the first episode, you're like, okay, I get it. And the second episode, you're like, holy... what? And then it just, every episode, it gets wilder and wilder. And you're like, this has to be a movie, which is what everybody's talking about. It will be made into a movie soon.
Oh, how is it not going to be?
And it's going to be fun. Anyway, so we watched all those episodes. I think all of them but one. We started it last week and we finished them this week. And nice. So that was pretty much the only show that we watch. I mean, now the Community's on Netflix. We've been watching that a lot more. I mean, it's been on Hulu, but I just hate Hulu. It's such a pain to navigate. I just am not a fan of the way that they operate their system. So
yeah, their interface and their operability could be a little bit better.
So watching more of Community. Watched all of season 6. I'm watching it in reverse order.
Reverse order?
I've seen seasons 1, 2, and 3 so much that I was like, all right, I'm going to go reverse order. So I watched all of that, and I'm on the 3rd episode of season 5. And
so are you starting like at the last episode and working backwards, or first episode of the last season?
Yes.
Finishing that, then okay.
Gotcha. Yep. And let's see, other than that, just living the quarantine life, man. Like trying not to go out ever, but got to get outside sometimes.
Right.
Did some lawn stuff this week and just kind of made a quick trip to Target, get the necessities, and that was pretty much it. I mean, for the week. And then Easter was this Sunday, and so we did all the Easter stuff, and Emmy with her little basket and hid it, and she was so excited. And all these holidays are such a big deal for little kids.
So does the Easter Bunny hide the basket for Emmy so she has to find it?
Yes.
See, that's the way I grew up too, but the Easter Bunny over here kind of gets lazy and just like leaves it on the kitchen table.
Ah, well, I'm sorry about that.
Me too.
The Easter
I wish the Easter Bunny hid it.
So yeah, the Easter Bunny mildly hid it for our 3-year-old who can't find stuffed animals that are literally at her feet because she's just like her dad and can't find anything.
Where is it? It's in your hand. Oh, there it is.
Oh, Daddy. You're like, oh my gosh, child, what is wrong with you? So yeah, she had a great time with that. And then we did the Easter egg hunt and talked to family a ton. And, it was a pretty good Easter. Just,
oh yeah, happy Easter belated, by the way.
Yeah, same to you as well. Yeah, like I cared. I was thinking about it. I was like, I haven't heard from Spencer today. This sucks.
Yeah, man, what am I going to do with the rest of my... Yep. Sorry, Emmy, Easter's off.
Yep, it's canceled. I'm so mad. That was, just the regular kind of... It's so much more chill when there's no family. There's no expectation of anything big for any church-related activities or services or anything. We just kind of...
You got to get the perfect Easter picture.
None of it, man. No Easter dress for Emmy. Like, it was nice. I saved some money. And
I stayed in pajamas all day.
Yeah, it was nice. Yep. We did like a little thing where we watched like a couple of videos and talked to Emmy about, we're religious over at our house. So we talked to her about why we celebrate Easter, why it's important to us. And so she's like, oh, and she was fascinated by it. She loved it. So it was good.
So it was funny because we did the whole baskets in the morning that the Easter Bunny left. And then at our house, the Easter Bunny leaves eggs for Daddy. And then Daddy goes and puts the eggs out in the backyard and hides them in the middle of the day so that the boys can go out when it's warm. Which is something we had to do because first thing in the morning in Utah in early April can be cold. So we did that in the middle of the day, and we fully had this intention of like, okay, we're going to sit down and we're going to have a lesson about Jesus and about the reason for Easter, and maybe we'll watch a video or two or something like that. Like, we had all the best intentions, and that didn't really happen. And so at dinner, which traditionally we would do like a ham at Easter and like all the, cheesy potatoes and kind of all the fixin' rolls, whatever. And this year, I didn't want to go out and buy a ham. I didn't want to go back out to the store. I was like, I want to use what we have. So we made a recipe that I grew up eating that was kind of a family favorite called Chicken Elegant. Now... if I'm telling you that there's a recipe and there's a word like elegant or finesse or luxury in it, it is a symbol and it should be a warning flag that says it's anything but, because chicken elegant is literally just chicken. Like chicken, we took chicken breasts and kind of cut them in half, and you put in like 2 cans of cream of mushroom soup, like 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, or a tablespoon or 2 of soy sauce, and then some garlic. We didn't usually like you'd use garlic chips or flakes, but we only had powdered. You mix it all up, you bake it at 350 for an hour, and then you serve it over rice.
That sounds delicious.
It's delicious. It's comfort food.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sell it at a restaurant, although the boy said, Daddy, this is so good. Restaurants could serve this and people would buy it. And I was like, well, some restaurants, yes. But it's like chicken elegant. And they get a little weird sometimes about sauces and gravies. So I had to tell them it was elegant sauce. Wow. And then he went, ooh, Daddy, this elegant sauce is fantastic. I'm like,
that's so cute.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, my gosh.
So we had that. But while we were eating dinner, in order to kind of keep their attention, keep them quiet, and try to bring in the reason why we celebrate Easter, I told him a story about a little boy who grew up and all the things that happened to this little boy and who became a man and one day, dies for us and then is resurrected and rises from the grave 3 days later. So like I kind of like had to like work that in, and they caught on to like what the story was about real early on. But I kept they're like, Daddy, this is about Jesus. I'm like, no, it's just about a boy. It's just about a boy who's living, who was born in a barn, and he's now, talking to people about, God and how we should be good to people. I'm like, he's just a guy. They didn't fall for that. I was trying to keep it like, I was just trying to keep him engaged and eating. Because if your daughter Emmy is anything like Charlie and Jackson, hopefully Lando doesn't become this way, they get to a certain point and they just don't want to eat. They just want to talk and dance and get out of their chair and move around. And like dinner time becomes this lengthy ordeal. And it's like, just open, shove food in, chew, open, shove food in. Like, just, can we get that repetitive? Let's just move along.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that was kind of our Easter. I did, however, make the Dole Whip that was the recipe that Disneyland put out.
Yeah.
And it turned out pretty good. However, in my opinion, it tasted more like pineapple Julius.
Okay.
It's kind of like an orange Julius, except with pineapple, because their recipe was 1 big scoop of ice cream to 2 cups of frozen pineapple and 4 ounces of pineapple juice, and you blend it until smooth. Except Dole Whip is non-dairy.
Yeah, it's not the same.
So it's not. So it was close. It was really close, but it's not the same. And I think the reality is, because I've looked into this, that you couldn't make your own Dole Whip with just the ingredients you have at home. Now, if you buy the Dole Whip powder that they do sell, which is the real thing that they use at Disneyland, you just add water, you mix it in an ice cream maker or whatever until it, freezes and becomes, soft serve, and then boom, you're good to go. But it's really like pineapple juice, and then it's like these like chemicals and stabilizers to kind of help thicken it up.
Yeah.
That's it. It does not have dairy in it. So the recipe that Disneyland put out as their recipe that you can do at home has that scoop of ice cream. It was close. It was good. It was light. It was refreshing.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't quite perfect.
Yeah.
But still, not bad. We did that. Let's see here. Of course, over the weekend, on Friday, Final Fantasy VII Remake released.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got it right here.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
And it's got all the deluxe edition stuff that I want. However, here's the deal. I was so busy this weekend and so incredibly tired as well, I haven't started it. And it's killing me because I wanted so bad to start it.
Yeah.
So my plan is tomorrow night, which will be Tuesday, I will start streaming it and playing it Tuesday night. And I will play it on stream, and I will start it this week. But man, Friday night I wanted to play it, and then that just wasn't going to work. And then Saturday night, and that wasn't going to work. And then it was Sunday, and all the Sunday stuff. And then tonight we record the podcast, and I was just like, you know what? Everyone and their dog is playing this. I'm super excited to play this, but I don't need to, force it.
Right.
When I'm tired. I want to enjoy this. So, yeah, I'm waiting. Anyway.
Okay.
We did start Picard, Star Trek Picard.
Oh, man, I need to start that.
I think we have 3 episodes left, and it's pretty good. But it is like I thought. It's not the heavy action like Discovery or any of the other Star Trek shows.
Right.
It definitely is more of I don't want to say slower pace, but a little more dramatic, a little more cerebral. So it's real good. And then, of course, the last and final thing, as Matt can attest, my isolation beard is really
it's coming
working.
In.
Today I got on the motorcycle for a couple minutes, and I went for a little quick ride, which, by the way, way too cold, 45 degrees.
Oh, gosh.
And I was only wearing a hoodie, so it was way cold. But I had to put something over my face because I was going to go out in public, and I put my little kind of scarf buff thing that I wear, and I put it over. It's like, oh, I do this all the time. But man, it was pushing the beard into my face, and it just made me itch like crazy.
Yeah.
And all I wanted to do was scratch my face.
Yeah.
So another week or two, I'll be past the itchy, scratchy phase. But man, I mean, the struggle was so real, Matt. All I wanted to do was rip flesh off of my face.
I can't I can only let my beard grow to a certain length, and then it just gets too itchy. I mean, regardless of what's on or not on my face, there comes a point, it's about 3 weeks, and I just go, I can't. I'll go lay down in bed at night. It'll touch my pillow. I'll get itchy. I'll get right up and trim it immediately. I don't care if it's 2 a.m. I'm trimming it because I can't do it. So
I'm gonna let mine go.
Past.
I'm gonna let mine. I'd like to get a little bit of length on it. My son Jackson says I need to grow it down to my pee-pee, but I don't think I'm gonna let it grow that long.
Wow.
I mean that would be like 3 feet of length.
That's a beard.
Yeah. No, I don't think I'm going. I'm like, buddy, I don't want the ZZ Top look, but
no.
But I like that's how he measures it. Daddy, grow it out to your pee-pee. I'm like, no, and let's stop saying that, buddy.
That's awesome.
Well, on that weird note, Jackson. Matt, it's time to kill some Bothans. How do you like to do that this week?
I don't know. Let's just pour acid on them.
Yikes! I like how you're like, I don't know. Let's just acid. Like,
that's easy.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Matt, we're into Rebel Intelligence. We are in a puddle of remaining Bothan goo.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What do you have for me this week?
Oh, I've got some doozies for you. I'm going to start out with the one that I read earlier this week, and I don't like it. I'm just going to start it off. I don't like this.
Okay.
Disney is all about these remakes recently and reimagining of their classic films.
Yeah.
So it's being reported that Disney is pursuing a remake of its classic animated cartoon movie Robin Hood, and the new version will be a musical, but it will use this live action CGI hybrid visual style.
So kind of like the Jungle Book one?
I'm not sure it'll be quite that much, because I think they'll be more humanoid like they were in the original. They're kind of going to be anthropomorphic and more classic. That's the rumor.
Okay.
I don't know.
So in theory, I like the idea of doing like a remade version of something if it's something that's like really, really old. So for instance, Ocean's 11. Ocean's 11 that released early 2000s was a fantastic movie. I love it to death. But it was a remake of like a 1960s Rat Pack movie.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with certain things like that because it was like, hey, this was a popular movie of the time, but like it hasn't weathered the storm very well of time, and most people don't remember it.
Yep.
But like beloved animated movies, that's harder. I mean, we talked about this with Lion King, and then Lion King went like the all like whatever they called it, like photorealistic.
Yeah, they went full on like Jungle Book did.
And well, it was even more than Jungle Book, because Jungle Book they had some anthropomorphic stuff at least, with I don't know. Anyway, but I think, well, I know that they're going to keep doing this. I mean, right? We talked. They're going to do a Little Mermaid one.
Yep.
They just did the Aladdin one. They're going to do this pretty soon. It's going to be Snow White. It's going to be Cinderella again. It's going to be, pick a thing. It'll be Peter Pan. We haven't seen. Why haven't they done Peter Pan?
I'd like a Peter Pan one.
Because
Peter Pan Peter Pan one.
Yeah, because Peter Pan was mostly humans anyway.
Yeah, that one's easier to do.
Side trail there, but I love Robin Hood, but I think if they go Robin Hood and they're doing it with the kind of the animals anthropomorphic, you got to get that right. You really do. You don't want this thing to be like a Cats movie.
No, and the difference between Lion King and this is in Lion King, like the characters are not anthropomorphic in the way that they don't walk around and wear clothes. In
Right.
Robin Hood, they do, right?
Yeah.
They're like humans basically, except they're animals. It's cute. It's amazing. It's probably my favorite pre-1990s, late 80s Disney movie. I love the music. I love everything about it. I can't envision it being like, why are they remaking it? I don't know how they're going to do it visually to make sense. If they go on and they do say, this is going to be straight up, like, we're going to make it look cartoony, but CGI kind of, I'm okay with it. But the second they make them walk on all fours is the second I lose my mind. Like, they need to be big eyes, animated faces, singing songs. Like, how do you make Robin Hood with his sly little, like, when you watch the movies, it's all the sly cues that he's good, right? When he's pretending to be bad, or he's that beggar. And the little rabbits are, it's, how do you do that? You have to make it right, and you have to have the music. I know they said it's a musical, and I swear they better have the same music, add a song or two, I don't care. But if I don't hear Robin Hood and Little John walk through the forest, if I don't hear those songs, anyway, I have strong opinions about this one because this is a absolute favorite movie for me. It's kind of a lesser known movie, I think, now, which is maybe why they're doing it. Like you said, it's a little older. Jesse's only seen it once because I made her watch it. It's it's from like the 50s, man. It's old.
I know. I love it. For me, it's like Peter Pan and Robin Hood. Flip a coin.
Right. And anyway, so that's the news. We'll see what happens. If the cast is right, I'm okay. But I don't know. I don't need it to look like Zootopia either, though. I just can't see that. So
I get you.
We'll see.
Well, we got some time to figure out what it's going to look like. I'm sure we'll get some promotional still shots at some point. But
yep.
Okay, so we've talked about this before, and I've poo-pooed all over the fact that Robert Pattinson is going to be in this new Batman film. So apparently, filmmaker Matt Reeves has said that obviously production on this film has shut down due to the coronavirus, that they were about 25% of the way through the film. And so someone was asking him, and he was kind of saying, like, we're not officially editing it right now, but we are going through and taking a look at the dailies and taking a look at the takes and what's to come. And we're kind of checking to see if the tone's right, if it's got the things we want, and that now we're kind of using this time off to, like, adjust and plan ahead and kind of based on what we're seeing. I hear this, and they're talking about, like, tweaks for tone and not necessarily script changes, but tweaking little things here for tone, little things there. If this were any other movie, Matt, I wouldn't bat an eye at look at that. I wouldn't bat an eye at it. I wouldn't think about it. I wouldn't even consider that this means anything. Look deeper. However, Batman is something that was done right with the Michael Keaton Batman movies. And then the Val Kilmer movie kind of got a little wonky. And by the time we got to the George Clooney, it was just off the rails. Like, they'd lost the essence of the character of Batman and kind of what they were doing. Then in comes the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, and they really righted the ship. They grounded Batman in a very real, dark way.
Yep.
And then when you get over into the DCEU stuff, the Ben Affleck Batman is actually pretty good, but he's definitely playing like the older, more grizzled, veteran Batman. And I like that too. It was a different take, but now we're unsure when this Robert Pattinson Batman's going to take place. And with the Christopher Nolan, I think, really kind of being the high watermark in the last, decade or so.
Yeah.
It's everything. Every Batman's going to be criticized. Every Batman's going to be held against that. Every Joker is going to be held up against Heath Ledger. Like, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate to the people that are working on new versions and, sequels and whatever, but that's just kind of how it is. So I'm already hesitant about this film, knowing now that we're hearing from the director that they're tweaking things and looking at tone and this and that. This could be standard practice, But if it is, why say anything? I feel like this is a prelude to like, hey, we're just preparing you for the fact that we may change the script when we come back and we may change up things dramatically. I feel like that's what's going to happen.
It may be, and I don't know. It sounds to me like at least they're trying to get it right. They're trying to figure it out, even if they don't know what they're doing. Because look, Batman is kind of hard to pin down. Like, what do people like and what do people not like? What makes Batman unique? And obviously the character Batman, but also the city of Gotham is a character in and of itself. And you have to get those things right.
The Batmobile is a freaking character.
I agree. And you have to figure out, okay, what do these things look like? And in what kind of tonally, how does it work? Because when you look back at, the Batman from Christopher Nolan era, it was, like you said, grounded in reality. Like, it was like a city that we could imagine living in. It wasn't over the top necessarily at the beginning of the movies.
Right.
And then you look back at, Michael Keaton's Batman, and it's more cartoony and darker with
okay.
less, definitely less grounded in a real place. Like when you've got,
I think the first one, the Tim Burton, like the first Batman, like that's definitely feels more grounded. The second Tim Burton one, when you get the Penguin, that started pulling away a little bit. When you get to the Joel Schumacher era with, freaking Batman and Robin at the end, that stuff's like nowhere near anything that seems realistic.
What and I did not mean that as a criticism of the original Tim Burton. I like that Gotham probably more than I even liked the Christopher Nolan Gotham. I like when that feels, because that one felt really dark, like literally it was dark all the time. It felt like. And like bad stuff was happening and it was dirty and it was scary. And
there's always steam and smoke too to help hide stuff. I loved that. Yeah.
That's the Gotham visually that Christopher Nolan didn't use, and it wasn't a bad choice, but I like that. I would love to see just if they could find a balance between the Tim Burton original and the Christopher Nolan series. I think we could have something really great. And I know that's what he needs to figure it out, but
don't do the Joel Schumacher. Let's put neon paint everywhere. Oh,
nope. Please, gosh, no. Oh, gosh.
I mean, that would be just like, hey, let's hire Michael Bay to make a Batman movie. Just no.
Don't do that.
Anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah, don't know what it means. We'll have to see. We got some time there on that one as well.
Okay, well, let's stick around with the superheroes and let's talk Suicide Squad and Guardians.
Oh, yeah.
So, the Suicide Squad, I don't know what you want to call it, a remake, a redo, let's try better this time because your first try was really bad. James Gunn, the director of both those films, has said there will be and should not be any push for either of those films. Like, I basically, I think what he's saying is the coronavirus has happened in such a way that neither of those movies will be affected. So shooting had finished for Suicide Squad, and they're able to do all the post-production from their homes. So it is going to be on schedule for release next year. And then Guardians of the Galaxy 3, he says there shouldn't be any problem with that. We weren't scheduled to start shooting that for a little while, so we should be fine. So for those two big movies, we should not expect any delay, hesitation. Everything's on track. He even says on track or better, meaning they may even be ahead of schedule as it pertains to Suicide Squad. So we'll see those movies as they were intended to be released. Unless, I mean, he's handcuffed by Marvel, right? Everything else Marvel got pushed out, but he's telling us there's no reason for his movie because of coronavirus to be pushed out. I think the expectation is we will be shooting again in the coming months.
Okay. Interesting. I'm looking forward to Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Definitely. Oh, big time.
I don't know. Honestly, for me, the only way I'm going to give this Suicide Squad reboot remake a chance is it's got to be it's based on a trailer. And if they come out with some banging trailer like they did for the original Suicide Squad, where it's like all music and kind of poppy music to really kind of like play on the, hey, you know this song, nostalgia, you like this song,
Yeah.
I will not go see it. I won't.
Yeah.
Even though it's James Gunn, and even though I have a lot of faith in James Gunn, the marketing department is what makes the trailer, not the director.
It's true.
So if the marketing department does it the exact same way for this DCEU version of Suicide Squad, I'm out. I will, like, I'm not going to get fooled again. It's not going to happen, Matt. It's just not going to happen.
Good for
But if they
you.
come up with something and it's like, we get some dialogue, we get some ideas, and it's like actiony, and like they kind of, get kind of like that feel of like, you're into this, kind of like a driving heartbeat, like bum, 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 boom, and they're showing a bunch of stuff flashing.
Right.
Maybe. But if they come back with some like, hey, we're going to set this to, Pretty Woman by Roy Orbison. No, out. No, I'm done.
Wow. Tough sell for you. No popular music allowed.
I'm just saying, I got burned so hard by the trailer for that first one.
Yep, because it looked great and it was a terrible movie. And I'm really nervous about this one. I do, like you, I trust James Gunn, but the cast is so eclectic that I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Nathan Fillion.
Oh,
Pete
Nathan Fillion's
Davidson.
so good.
I agree, but together, like,
yeah, I don't know.
Where's this Michael Rooker, great, but Idris
Rooker's
Elba, John Cena,
so
Taika Waititi. I'm like, I don't know, man.
The problem is, I'm like, ooh, this person's great. Ooh, this person's great. Ooh, this person and this person. But all together, I'm like,
how does
is
that
it
make
too
a movie?
much? I don't know. I don't know. All right. Last week, we talked about some free stuff that like HBO was giving away. They were giving away some content.
Yeah.
We know that Disney Plus has released some stuff ahead of time, and people are giving away stuff. There's lots of companies that right now are trying to do things that they normally don't do to help people that are going stir crazy, and let's be honest, B, try to, grab in a larger fan base or consumer base so that when we kind of get through this trying time, more people are going to be on board.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that because giving away free stuff, it's up to people. They make their own choice. I'm cool with that. Wizards of the Coast, the company that runs and publishes Dungeons & Dragons, is releasing a whole bunch of content right now for free.
Oh,
so
nice.
I took a look because I've played some Dungeons & Dragons. I actually ran a Dungeons & Dragons campaign for a while. I'd never played it before. I'd never DM'd before, and I tried it, and we ran it for a number of months, and it was fun. We didn't quite finish it. The group kind of fell apart. It's something I'd like to do again. I just need more time in my personal life to do that. But Wizards of the Coast is giving away free resources and materials daily on their website. This includes, from what they're showing, freebies. Some of it is campaign modules. Some of it's standalone adventures. Some of it's starter materials. And they also did say that like not all of this is just aimed at kids to try to get kids hooked into D&D and playing D&D.
Yeah.
But some of it is for more of the adult crowd that plays D&D. But there are some D&D themed coloring pages for kids and other things too.
Yeah.
So Wizards of the Coast, I think, is really positioning themselves smartly here because they know people are stuck at home. And you can play D&D two ways. One, with a group of people sitting around a table. So, imagine a family setting right now because you're not going to get together with friends. Or two, there's a lot of places you can play D&D online. And you can play D&D as starters. You could do Skype or Zoom or Google Hangouts or Discord. And you could talk with people and do this all over the internet, which would be great because it's not something that you visually have to see. D&D is literally theater of the mind. It's a game, You say, I want to do this. And the Dungeon Master says, okay, roll to see if you can do that. And there's a level, and if you roll dice higher than that, you're successful. If not, you're not successful. Something bad could happen,
Right.
You kind of dictate, what happens in this game, in this, narrative, in this campaign. And I think this is a perfect thing for a bunch of people that are stuck at home that they can get together online and do something like this and be creative. So good on them, free stuff, helping out the kiddies and the adults, and hopefully grabbing some more D&D players along the way.
Absolutely. You know, all these companies are, honestly, obviously there's business motives behind every decision that they're making, but they still didn't have to do that. And none of these companies had to do anything that they're doing, right? I mean,
yep.
I legitimately believe that I don't trust businesses. However, there are good people in business. And I think that out of the goodness of their hearts, they're trying to do things to help us.
Yeah.
And because they're stuck at home too. Everybody is stuck at home. From the richest of the rich to the poorest of the poor, you're stuck at home. You're stuck. And they're trying to give us things to do, ways to keep us engaged, keep us creative, keep our minds from getting mush by watching Tiger King. And I think it's great. Good on them. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. What else you got?
So the last thing I have is my favorite show that I've only seen like twice in my life, Saturday Night Live. Love it.
Yeah.
Seen sketches here and there, obviously. The classics. Haven't watched it in years. Doesn't matter. I watched it. I watched some of the stuff that I'm about to talk about, though. So they did Saturday Night Live from home.
Yeah.
Which constituted all of the cast members doing their own little spiels from home.
Yeah,
so they had like
and stuff.
Like World Report or whatever they do was from home, and the Donald Trump impression. God, who does that? I don't say Trebek. Oh my gosh,
Alex Trebek. That's it. Alec Baldwin.
Thank you. That's why I was saying it. Alec Baldwin, duh.
Alex Trebek. Alex Trebek is too smart for that.
Yeah. And Tom Hanks was the kind of surprise host you could say. He did the monologue at the beginning from his house, and he famously got the coronavirus. We talked about it, a month ago, I want to say. Or so, when he got the coronavirus. Obviously he's fine, he's recovered, everything's great, but his monologue was funny. It was enjoyable. I liked it because it kind of poked the fun at Saturday Night Live that it's sort of funny, which honestly reflects my feelings of Saturday Night Live, and I think a lot of people's, which is why I think it was funny. Is look, Saturday Night Live is sometimes funny, but usually it's not very funny. So I don't find it funny.
Saturday Night Live is interesting because it's a sketch comedy show, and not every sketch always lands, and because it's live too, so like there's times where I've seen stuff like you see something in like a dress rehearsal, like in a practice, and it's super funny, and then you get in front of like a live audience, and just the way it's performed out maybe doesn't hit some of the right beats at the same time as it did in practice. Yeah. And so then it falls flat and it's just not funny. It's just dead. And like that's live theater and that's live comedy. And so it can be hit or miss. And then also I think it also depends on your castmates, the people that are in it. Cause I find some people extremely funny and there's other people that I don't find funny at all.
That was my next point, was the likability of cast members plays a huge role into how much I enjoy it. And I don't enjoy 90% of the cast. I just think they're obnoxious humans. I just don't like them.
There's a few on there right now that I really do enjoy. But man, I don't want to bag on this guy, but Pete Davidson.
Nobody likes Pete Davidson.
I mean, it's just like, he just seems like he's a guy that's trying too hard to be funny. And for me, it just like, it never seems to land with me. But Leslie, what's her name?
Jones?
Leslie Jones. I at first did not like her very much. And I was like, I don't know.
Right.
But then like slowly over time, I came to see like how brilliant she really played things. And I realized like, I really, really, really enjoyed her, but it took me a little while to like really kind of get hooked by the way she played a lot of characters and kind of the attitude she took. And then it became extremely funny to me. But then you go back in time and like there's people like Will Ferrell was always Will Ferrell.
Right.
He's just a goofball. Same thing with Chris Farley, John Belushi. Like these guys are just goofballs. They're going to be goofballs.
Yep.
Either you like goofball humor, slapstick stuff, or you don't care for it at all and you're one or the other. There's no middle ground.
Yeah. It's a tough business for sure to be in Saturday Night Live, and I don't know. I've got feelings about it. Some of those cast members make it so that I just can't watch it.
Yeah.
And then there's some like Kenan Thompson, whom I love.
I love
Kenan. He deserves to be doing better things than Saturday Night Live. And then you get people like Kate McKinnon, and I absolutely cannot stand her.
Really?
She's like one of the people in the whole world that just rubs me wrong. I don't know her, and I don't ever want to. It's just one of those people.
Wow, really?
You know how there's those actors, Jason Sudeikis? He's the other
Sudeikis?
one. Oh,
yeah.
I would rip his head off if I ever saw him, and I would I'd go to jail for murder, and I wouldn't care.
Oh, wow!
I don't know the guy, but
hey, if you pay someone $3,000, you know
they won't even go to the state that they're going in. Anyway,
right?
They won't even make it to Florida. Okay. Neither here nor there. Saturday Night Live did it from home. If you like Saturday Night Live, go watch it. You might think it's funny.
I'd say watch it anyway, just because it's really unique to see people trying to do sketch comedy remotely without being together. It's very different. Like I watched a little bit of it the other night with Brita and I went, okay, like some of this is like I see where the funny potential is there, but there's no live audience, and so I was like, oh, that's funny. But I didn't think it was like, haha, I'm going to laugh out loud funny. And then, of course, no one's there laughing.
Yeah.
So, like, it seems like it just falls completely dead, even though it was kind of a funny joke. So,
but that's the part, that's what I liked most about Tom Hanks's monologue is there was no laughing, which is what was funny about it.
Yeah.
Because I laughed out loud a few times. It was like I was watching a real TV show without a laugh track. Anyway, I enjoyed that. Anyway. Neither here nor there. That's the end of that.
The last thing that I have, I love, this is a Tim Burton movie, and I'm not the biggest Tim Burton guy. A lot of Tim Burton stuff is super, super weird. And I just kind of go, yeah, this is just Tim Burton being Tim Burton. Like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yep.
But early works, this is like his second movie, Beetlejuice. And I'm only going to say it the one time. I'm not going to say it two more times because we know what happens.
No.
But there's a documentary that's gonna come out. It's basically kind of behind the scenes of this cult classic, and it's titled Documentary for the Recently Deceased. And basically what it does is it goes behind the scenes and talks to like people who lived in this like town in Vermont, East Corinth, and it talks to them about like what was going on, like, with the actors that came in and all the crew and whatnot, and how they picked out their town and why they picked it out. And it's going to be this like full documentary kind of behind the scenes of the Beetlejuice movie. And I watched the YouTube trailer and I loved it.
Oh, really?
And realized that, because I really did love that movie. It was weird, but it's so dark humor, and there's so much that I love in that movie, humor-wise. However, I think, and I don't know if I remember this right, I think they may be talking about doing a sequel to the original movie. And so I think, knowing that there's this documentary and there's a trailer out for this documentary that actually is a Kickstarter that's been fully funded, so this thing will happen, I think this is kind of a way to bring back some of the public awareness to this film, kind of get it back in the zeitgeist before we hear, if we haven't already, because I swear I think I've heard it.
There's been rumors for years that there's going to be a sequel to Beetlejuice.
What do you think? Are you a fan of that movie?
We watched, this was one of those movies, we did a podcast a couple of months ago. I don't remember what the topic was. Oh, it might have been movies that didn't age well, and Beetlejuice was one of those. I did not like it at all in 2019 when I watched it. I was like, this movie, and I love Tim Burton. Give me the weird, give me the dark, give me the creepy, give me the strange. And this movie is all those things, except it's not good to me. I don't think it's good. I mean, I'm being harsh. It didn't age well at all.
I mean, it did come out in 1988. I mean,
the special effects are really, really, really bad. I mean, even for 1988, I don't know. They could have done. It was bad. And on top of that, the humor is like when you watch it today, you cringe at points. You're like, well, that is sexual harassment. Wowzers. Like you can't even say that in a movie. Anyway, I like the idea. And if they make a second Beetlejuice, I'll definitely see it. If Tim Burton's, on board and Michael Keaton, I'll go.
Michael Keaton's the key for me.
I think he's the key for everyone.
Tim Burton, whatever. Gina Davis, I don't care. If Michael Keaton says, I'm signing back on to play Beetlejuice again, I'm on board. I will go see it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll see it too. I hope it's better than the original was. I mean, I don't know.
See, I have a different experience because I remember seeing it in like the late 80s or early 90s when it came to VHS.
Right.
Because we owned it in our house. Like I remember like having it. I'm pretty sure I didn't go see it in the theater because I would have been about 9 at the time. I'm pretty sure I saw it maybe a couple of years later when it was out on VHS tape. But anyway, that's there. Oh, Matt, there was one other small little tiny thing.
Okay.
I heard today that Bob Iger, our friend Bobby.
Oh, yeah.
Bob. I heard today that even though he technically stepped down and Bob Chapek has, stepped up and he's kind of running things, that because everything has been so tumultuous over at Disney with the coronavirus and shutting down the parks and then, things with movies and things now going like Artemis Fowl going straight to Disney Plus and this and that. Bob Iger, our friend Bob, was trying to go out kind of on top and thought, he kind of resigned when he did and kind of step back, even though he's still technically there as the chairman and whatever for the next 18 months. Apparently today, news is he's pretty much stepping back in and taking over again and taking the full reins. Bob Chapek is still there, and he's still going to be working with him, but the board of directors is saying, Bob Iger, you have to be the one. You've led us for the last 15 years. You brought us to new highs. We need your expertise to help us get through this next troubling period, because we are seeing a period unlike anything else we've ever seen.
Yep.
They want his leadership. They want him to have a direct hand in it. I just saw that today. What do you think?
Yeah, I saw that today too. I read an article that was sent to me by my buddy Charles, and I think he's been doing that for a while. At least that's the way that I read the report. Was Bob's been back for a little bit. I mean, he's been quoted in the news recently as it pertains to parks and what measures they're going to have to take when the parks eventually reopen. And it's Bob Iger they're quoting. It's not Mr. Chapek. It's Bob Iger. And that's when I knew, okay, I feel more comfortable. Not that I don't trust Bob Chapek. I don't know him.
Sure.
But Bob Iger, I know well. Yeah, at least I feel like I do. And so I'm much more comfortable.
He's a friend of the podcast. We know him personally.
He's a good friend of the podcast. And so I know that he's going to do what's right for Disney business-wise, but he's also going to do what's right for, the parks. He's going to do what's right for
sure.
the customer as well. And he knows kind of the ins and outs and what it takes to make it work. It'll be interesting. But yeah, I heard that too.
Okay. Yeah, last little tidbit. I saw that and I thought I'd just try to get your take on it. All right, last week, Matt, we had a conversation about animated TV shows.
I'm excited.
And you and I talked about our favorites from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. Mine, as you recall, was The Simpsons for the 80s, King of the Hill for the 90s, Clone Wars for the 2000s, and Rebels for the 2010s. Yours, as I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, Chippendale Rescue Rangers for the 80s. For the 90s, it was like a split. I think I split between Rugrats and SpongeBob. Rugrats. No, you said Rugrats. I do remember that. Rugrats. For the 2000s, I think you said Invader Zim. Yeah, because that's the only show that I watched. And the 2010s, I think you said... Adventure Time. Adventure Time. Yes, Adventure Time. I was like, I don't want to have to go back and check it. Yeah. But we asked the Super Friends what's their favorites from those decades, and we got quite a lot of responses. And some people didn't give us one per decade, so
unfair.
Be prepared. We cut ours down to a single one. I mean, we did have some honorable mentions, but
we did.
Let's start over on email. forwardofnerd@gmail.com. We got Peter Christensen. Dear nerds, quarantine continues on the Seattle outskirts. This week, the in-person school year was canceled and schools started giving required graded homework assignments as the rest of the year will be virtual. Our elementary school teachers did a car parade where they drove around the neighborhood with signs on their cars, honking and waving. It was a very nice gesture and it was the nicest day we've had in weeks, so we played Frisbee while waiting for the car parade. We're several viewings into Onward, so I'll be ready for the movie club next week. While I love the 80s cartoons because that's when I was a kid, you are correct that there was a shift in cartoons then. In the early 1980s, the FCC removed rules limiting advertising content in television aimed at children, which is how you go from Hanna-Barbera cartoons, very cheaply made because you couldn't advertise much, to higher quality animation monetized by toy sales. I had similar choices as you guys with too many options for the 80s and 90s and very few after that. My top 80s choice is Transformers, the TV show, and especially the movie. Strong honorable mention for TMNT. I had He-Man, G.I. Joe, and Thundercat phases, but they were early and didn't last. I loved The Simpsons, but I don't classify it with the others. It was more like an entry-level adult show, whereas all those were clearly for kids.
Yep.
My top choice of the 90s was Ren and Stimpy. It was so gross and weird that it tickled my need for novelty and was a safe place where no grown-up would tread. Coming in a close second was The Tick, which was equally weird and novel, but more silly than gross. Honorable mentions for the Animaniacs and X-Men. Dark Horse appearance for The Critic, where John Lovitz plays a film critic with a billionaire boss, a wacky family, and a hilarious turbulent life. I rewatched it on YouTube recently and it's still funny, plus I got way more of the movie references. The 2000s were a cartoon void. I didn't watch any cartoon TV shows until my daughters started picking Little Einsteins and Callaloo and that stuff. Little Einsteins. Anyway.
Did you say Callaloo? It's Caillou. Come on, Spencer. Caillou.
I never watched that show. Caillou.
It's the worst show ever.
Gotcha. It says, for cartoons and me, the 2000s were the golden age of Pixar. Monsters, Inc., Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Cars, Ratatouille, WALL-E, and Up. Those are some of the greatest movies ever, and I'll take those movies over all other Pixar films every day of the week. To me, these aren't kids' movies, they're more my movies that I can share with the kids until they're ready for the Fast and the Furious. Also, shout out to Homestar Runner and Strong Bad on the web.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
The 2010s are similar. I watched and enjoyed the two Avenger cartoons, Avengers Assemble and Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, now both on Disney+. The kids have watched a lot of cartoons, and I can vouch for Carmen Sandiego and The Miraculous Ladybug. But my animation story for the 2010s is the resurgence of Disney. They released Tangled, Wreck-It Ralph 1 and 2, Frozen 1 and 2, Big Hero 6, Zootopia, Moana. This is my favorite Disney decade, beating out the 50s, Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, Beauty and Sleeping Beauty, and edging out the 90s, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Nightmare Before Christmas, Lion King, Pocahontas, Hercules, Mulan, and Tarzan. I do have to go on record as hating the animation on the new Disney shorts. They remind me too much of Ren and Stimpy, so they gross me out even when they aren't gross, and that's not what I want from Mickey Mouse. Cheers, Peter Christensen.
I mentioned that. I said it's divisive.
No, you did.
You love it or you hate it. I love it.
I love it too. Weirdly,
it's so weird. It's so
I remember
funny.
looking at it and going, I don't know, and then I was like, okay, we're good.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know why.
It's funnier. I'll be honest. I think it just makes it so it's more comical.
Maybe a little more
less
adult.
Clean. Yeah, a little less clean and like perfect lines. Anyway.
All right. So we don't have any on Facebook, so we're going to jump right over to Twitter. Twitter's where people just like went off the rails.
Okay, let's hear it, baby.
At least Peter had like one in every category with some honorable mentions.
Oh, dear.
Buckle up a little bit. So, over on Twitter, we're at Fort of Nerd. We've got Paul Calico at pcalico84. All right, so 80s, TMNT, The Real Ghostbusters, and Transformers.
Okay.
90s, Dragon Ball Z, Exo Squad, Super Mario, definitely Transformers Beast Wars, Simpsons.
Okay.
The 2000s, Adventure Time, Kids Next Door, Regular Show, Teen Titans, Avatar The Last Airbender, Bob's Burgers, TMNT.
Okay.
Because remember, there's different versions of TMNT.
Yes, the weird animated new version. Yep.
The 2010s, Transformers Prime, TMNT, Dragon Ball Super, Naruto, Sword Art Online, Boruto, Clone Wars, just to name a few. 90s Batman animated series is there too, and X-Men, dang, so many cartoons. Hashtag FON answers.
Nice.
Else time.
Nice.
There's a lot. I get it. It's hard cutting down.
It's impossible.
We got Robert Darrell Good Jr. at After Christ 01. Not exactly sure what I would pick as the fave, but these are definitely some highlights. 80s, Muppet Babies.
Classic.
90s, Batman. I'm assuming he means Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
2000s, Trinity Blood. And 2010s, Violet Evergarden.
I don't know either of those.
I don't know those last two, but Muppet Babies and Batman, Robert Darrell Good Jr. I'm right there with you.
Babies.
We'll make our dreams come true.
Emmy watches the new Muppet Babies. Have your kids ever seen the new Muppet Babies?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Our kids have seen that. They like that.
Oh, Emmy's freaking obsessed with it.
I will say, though, like, my kids don't watch it as much because my kids, gosh, if that show had come out like a year or two earlier,
right, totally.
It would have been right in the sweet spot for my kids. My kids are now, like, just
a little
kind
older.
of, just on the outskirts of that. So if it's on, they watch it. But anyway.
Okay.
All right. Burnaby, my back, butter teeth at Dante's _ Belmont. It took him, hold on, 4 tweets to get this answer.
Gosh.
So, 80s, Dragon Ball Z, Saint Seiya, Voltron, Captain Tsubasa. I watched Voltron in the 80s. I liked that. I don't know the others.
When was Captain Planet? Just out of curiosity.
That's definitely the 90s.
Okay.
Definitely the 90s. Captain Planet, he's our hero.
I liked that one.
Gonna take pollution down to 0. Anyway, 90s, Sailor Moon, Magic Knight Ray Earth, Escaflowne, Evangelon, Fly No Dayboykin, SWAT Cats, Samurai Pizza Cats. 2000s.
Wait.
Samurai Pizza Cats. I don't know what that. Yeah.
I don't know what any of those shows.
I know.
Are.
I didn't watch Sailor Moon, but
Sailor Moon was the one like the little girls in little skirts. That's what I know about Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
But holy cow, I don't know any of those other shows. Oh, okay.
Wow. We're not done. I think I see the theme that Burnaby, my back, butter teeth at Dante's _ Belmont is really in.
It's like an anime
to anime, like manga type
Japanese
stuff. Yeah.
type.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I'm feeling
2000s. Gravity Falls, Saint Seiya Hades chapter, Tsuba J, Maid Sama, Death Note, Death Parade, Naruto, Black Butler, Mazen Kaiser, Kim Possible, Avatar.
Oh, well, got a few in there I recognize.
I heard of 2 of those, yes.
Yeah.
Kim Possible and Avatar. Didn't watch either of them. But definitely, like, all those to me, and maybe I'm wrong on a couple, but they all scream like anime.
Yeah, they are.
Like Japanese anime stuff. Okay, the 2010s. Attack on Titan, Haikyuu? I don't know.
Why not?
Castlevania, hey!
Whoa,
okay.
You said that one right.
Sordemo, Fate Zero, Log Horizon, You Lie in April, Forest of Piano, DuckTales,
Okay.
Avatar Korra. I really know DuckTales and Castlevania there. And so many, many more. Dragon Prince, Dragon Riders, Mazinger Z, Gatchaman, Voltron, Samurai Warriors, Astro Boy, Keikaguru, Seven Seed, Seven Deadly Sins, Magi Adventure, Ultraman, Voltron Netflix, Kill La Kill, Inuyasha, Yu Yu Hakusho, Arbegas, Death Zone 99, Violet Evergarden, Galaxy Express 999, Gargantia, No Game No Life, Captain Harlock, KK, Knights of Sidonia, Knights Princess, Star vs. Forces of Evil, ...
I don't know that he's or she. I don't know who this is.
Oh,
I don't remember.
Dante's,
is this Bernabe?
Yeah, this is Bernabe. Dante's definitely a he. I know. It's a good friend.
Does only TV watching? Like, I couldn't name that many TV shows at the top of my head, or if you gave me an hour.
Oh, if you gave me time, it's like name like every comedy like TV show from the 80s
that you've seen that you think is great.
I could list quite a lot. That's what I'm saying. Like,
he can list more.
If it's in your wheelhouse, if it's in your wheelhouse, like, you know it.
Yeah. And there's just more. I feel like there's just more of that style of TV show. And they're all cartoons. So that helps as well. I know we'd offend people if we said that it was all anime, because it's probably some other genre.
Anime, manga, whatever. But
we don't mean to offend. We just are not educated in the Japanese art styles. So please don't take offense when we say Dragon Ball Z and Naruto are the same to us, because we don't know the difference. And I'm so sorry.
I never heard Pokemon in there anywhere.
That's true. Mainstream. It was too mainstream.
Too mainstream?
Yeah.
He was a Dragon Ball Z guy?
Man.
Yeah.
He's like, screw that crap, man. That's too mainstream. I'm going to go for Chingbal Didi or whatever.
Next time I'm making you read these. Mamba Mentality at DSpend67. He says, 2000s, Wallace and Gromit.
Okay, I know what that is.
90s, I would say Reboot.
Oh, dude, Reboot was a classic. It was like the first ever CGI like TV show on one Saturday morning. Dude, I remember Reboot like crazy. Good choice.
80s, Super Friends. Of course, I love the Super Friends. 70s, Scooby-Doo. I know it was on the list, but... And then pre-60s, Flintstones and Bugs Bunny.
God, I'm good with all that.
Yeah.
I think we should go back maybe in a couple of months and do some of those older ones, because I watched a lot of those older ones when they came on Cartoon Network and stuff and TV Land. Some really good cartoons I loved a lot.
Maybe we should do like a podcast where like you and I each have to watch like, I don't know, like 10 classic episodes, or like a 10 episode run of like some old cartoon like Flintstones or Jetsons or Looney Tunes, Hanna-Barbera, something. Yeah. And then talk about like if we think it still would work with today's kids without changing anything. Just like, here, watch Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. Go.
Yep.
That could be fun. I like that.
Yep.
All right, Matt, how can the Super Friends help us out this week? And thank the Super Friends for all their answers this week for us as well.
Yes, you guys did amazing. Please continue to engage. It really is it is our favorite segment of the whole show. And we laugh because we care. We don't laugh to make fun. We laugh because this is a safe place and we enjoy.
Oh, man. My bad.
Also, sometimes we make fun.
I forgot.
What?
We've got one more over on Instagram.
Okay, well, we thank everybody except for this one Instagram post. Oh, wait, no. We thank you as well. Let's hear it.
Jason Both Photography. The 80s and the 90s is the time I have my fondest memories for watching cartoons. Mm-hmm. The shows in the 80s I would watch, I think there was, like most kids, Transformers and G.I. Joe. I also loved watching Huey, Dewey, and Louie and Uncle Scrooge and DuckTales. But my favorite show of the 80s was Inspector Gadget. In the 90s, I liked to watch Tiny Toon Adventures, but my main favorite show is Animaniacs. I watched an episode a year ago, and it was so funny and not politically correct in any way. In the 2000s, I would watch this show with my kids. I would say, in the 2000s, I would watch this show with my kids. I would have to say it's my favorite cartoon of all time. This show has adult jokes, jokes for kids, and it's fun to watch with the whole family. It's so different than any other cartoon. Their Star Wars episodes was great and funny. How they added so much to the Star Wars movies and their canon. The show is Phineas and Ferb.
Oh, okay.
In the 10s, I'd have to say Teen Titans Go. Robin is so funny. Thanks, guys, for entertaining us during this time.
No,
Sorry.
Thank you for your answers. That's great. I was really on the edge of my seat as to what show was being alluded to.
What show he was talking about.
Robot Chicken? Star Wars? Family Guy? Where are we going with this? I've not seen Phineas and Ferb, and I have only heard really, really, really good things about it.
I've seen it a little bit here and there. It's pretty entertaining.
I need to give it a try. I do need to give it a try. I don't know. The noses throw me off, though, but I'm going to try and get past the noses. Okay, Super Friends, this week I've got a challenge, and This is a really hard challenge. This is what you can do this week, because I tried to do this week because it pertains to what we're about to talk about. I know I'm doing a lot of explaining here. Make a list or look up all of the Disney Pixar movies and try and pick a top 5. It's very difficult to do, and you'll think that you know all the Pixar movies, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about Cars, or I totally forgot about, I don't know, Monsters Inc. or Finding Nemo or whatever. It's very, very difficult. I tried to do that after I watched Onward, and anyway. So that's what you can do.
That's actually going to be our question of the week, Matt. Let's just do that.
Let's do it.
What's your top 5 Pixar movies?
That means we have to figure it out.
Well, do we have to figure it out by the end of this podcast?
No.
Or can we talk about it next week?
Let's talk about it next week, because that requires a lot of forethought.
Yeah. All right. Well, Matt,
like, comment, subscribe, listen, share.
Right, all the things.
All the stuff you always do. Thank you so much. We love you guys.
So it's weird to lock in our question of the week so early in the podcast, but I like it. So as you said, and as we talked about last week, we watched Onward. We got Disney Plus. That's where it's at. This is our movie club. If you haven't watched Onward yet, you may want to pause the podcast. Also, it's on Disney Plus. Just go watch it. Like, you're stuck at home. What are you going to do?
Yep. So
let's talk about Onward. Matt, what do you think of this movie Onward? Like, give me your high-level opinion of it.
It's always hard to give a high-level opinion on a movie before we've talked about it. But I really liked it. It had all the things you kind of expect from Pixar, with the emotional pull and the story taking you in a different direction or learning something from it that maybe you weren't expecting to. And I found myself within the first 5 minutes of this movie thinking, this could be the best Pixar movie I've seen. In the first 5 minutes, I was all in.
Wow.
I thought it was fantastic. So that's my high level.
Okay. I really enjoy this movie for a lot of different reasons. And I remember, so I've seen it twice now. I literally finished watching it again right before we started recording. And then I watched it the first weekend it came out on Disney Plus. And I remember watching it the first time and then again this time, and I went, I think this is a solid Pixar movie, and I think it's going to be up there. Maybe in my top 5, definitely in my top 10.
Yeah.
But I would recommend this movie to anyone. Like, I think for me, that's kind of the mark of a, kind of a high level overview. Did you enjoy it enough that you would recommend to someone else who hasn't seen it that they should watch it or not? And I definitely would recommend this movie to anyone. So, Let's rewind a little bit. Let's talk some specifics. So we know that Onward was filmed and was intended to get a wide release in theaters. It was released in theaters March 6th, I believe.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this coronavirus here in the United States and throughout the rest of the world was just going on and like really starting to rage real hard, and places started closing down right, left, and center. And so, as it closed down in the United States, obviously it had like the first weekend in the theater, if that.
Yeah, barely.
Like
made it through the first weekend.
Yeah, through the first weekend, and then like maybe a couple days. And so Disney really did anticipate that this was going to be a massive box office success for them. And then, of course, life finds a way of changing things, and no one's going. So it gets pulled from theaters. Theaters are closed down. And then Disney pulls this move and says, hey, we're going to put it to Disney Plus. I think that was a genius move. I think it was a genius move. I read somewhere that the numbers for the amount of Disney Plus subscribers was something like 50 million now worldwide.
Yeah. It's massive. It's massive.
Do you remember when it first opened and on the first day it hit 10 million and like that was the big news story and we're like, this is bigger than they anticipated. It's huge. Now we're talking 50 million people. This service launched in the beginning of November.
It's amazing. They said they gained like 30 or 31 million since February/March.
Coronavirus,
worldwide.
man. Coronavirus.
That and releasing it in a couple other territories.
Yeah.
It's pretty remarkable. And certainly, Onward and Frozen 2 were catalysts to these individuals picking up the streaming service. It was a great move, and obviously I'm grateful because I wasn't able to go see it in the theater, and I didn't want to have to wait, and it was a weird thing, and I really wanted to see that movie.
Think about it like this too. If you didn't, let's say you didn't have Disney Plus, but yet you were going to take your family of 4 to go see Onward in the theater, how much would it have cost you to take your 2 kids and your wife to go see Onward?
Yeah, a lot more than what I would.
Maybe tickets and popcorn, $50?
Probably pretty close.
And how much is Disney a month? $7?
Yeah,
and
I know, right?
You pay for it once for a single month, and you could watch that movie a couple hundred times, depending on how many times a day your kids could watch it. So I definitely think that moving it over to Disney Plus was a huge move. But by doing that, we have an opportunity to experience Onward worldwide with so many other people. And so I want to talk about the movie. I think that it has one of my favorite, most fun kind of settings. You got this, I don't even know what you say. Like, magic used to exist in the world, but like somehow it's kind of like faded out. People have forgotten about it, and now it's like suburban living, except it's all still like elves and minotaurs and unicorns and dragons and like all these things are commonplace. It's kind of like that alternate reality, right? Like we've kind of talked about some of the things like, what would happen if this didn't change or if this changed? And so it's kind of like this alternate reality world of like all these mystical creatures, but magic has gone away. So they ride the bus to school and they drive cars and they fly in airplanes. Like I saw this one shot where, our main characters we're going to talk about in a minute are on like this quest and they're out in this like open field and it looks amazing, this vista. But in the background, you can see an airplane going through. And I was like, that's perfect because they're out in the middle of nowhere, but yet a plane feels normal here because this is kind of like the real world, just with mythical creatures. Yeah. So, I don't know. We had Frozen, and it's a story about 2 sisters. Now we get Onward, and it's a story about 2 brothers. What did you think of the brother story that was being told here?
Well, that's the story that was told. I mean, come to find out, that is the story. It's the story of these 2 brothers, and it was very real. I it was a little unexpected. I didn't know what to expect from the trailers, I guess, but I had an expectation in my head of how their relationship was going to be as brothers. And I always feel like in movies and in TV shows, the older brother is typically cooler and like teases the younger brother. And this was not the case, which I was really happy about.
Right. Oh, yeah.
That this was a total role reversal and a flip, right? It was the heart and soul of the movie, where it was the relationship of these two brothers and how they grow together. And it was from the get-go, like I said, I was in. When they started talking about why the magic went away, I went, not only is that a good story device, but it makes sense too.
Sure. Technology.
Like flipping a light switch is way easier than trying to cast a spell.
Yeah.
And flying in an airplane is way safer and easier than however you're going to fly on a dragon, or if you're a griffin or whatever you are.
Right.
It not only was a good story plot device, but it made perfect sense, which I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I love. Like good storytelling, incredible visuals, and then placed in something that you and I think all the Super Friends enjoy, which is kind of a Lord of the Rings-esque medieval quest kind of
fantasy world
feel that we enjoy. It was great.
I agree. I think the setting and the plot device of magic going away was done brilliantly. Like it's just really, like, I really enjoyed it, but I feel like it really resonated really well to the story they were trying to tell, and which of course, made some of the things that happened like really, really funny. So you got Ian, who is the younger brother, who just turned 16 at the very beginning of the movie. It's his birthday, and he's like a lot of kids at 16. Doesn't have a ton of self-confidence. Just kind of, wishes he could be more like, his dad, who is, by the way, it's a Pixar movie, but it's, with Disney, and of course we've got a dead parent.
Yep,
The father's gone. So for me, that resonates on a very strong level, because my dad's been gone since I was, 23. Now it's different because for these two brothers, they were very, very, very young. Like the older brother was maybe like 5, 6-ish, when maybe around that age.
It'd have to be younger.
Yeah, when the dad
passed.
passed.
16 and the brothers.
Well, we don't know how old the older brother
2 years
is.
apart.
Yeah, maybe.
That would be my expectation, but I don't know.
So maybe 4. I don't know. Anyway,
not old.
So
That's what I'm trying to get at. Not a lot of memories of dad, like 2.
And so Ian lacks self-confidence. He sees all these pictures of his dad. He wants to know more of his dad. He wants to emulate them. And then he's got this older brother, Barley. And Barley plays Dungeons and like the fantasy Onward version of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
He lives at home, but he's kind of known as kind of like a troublemaker, only because he tries to stop companies from like knocking down like old magic relics, because he believes in magic, that it's still out there. And he is the typical like fantasy nerd, except for him, it's not just like this fantasy world, it's his history. So he's really a history nerd,
right?
But in a fantasy world. And I just loved that, because it seems so silly, but yet so true to that world. And of course, you've got Tom Holland voicing Ian, the younger brother, and Chris Pratt voicing Barley, the older brother. And their mom seems like this really sweet, loving mother who also can be tough and knows how to wrangle these two boys, because she basically raised the two boys all by herself.
Yep. And I think, the way that they portray that single mother life is again, I feel like different than when I typically see that typically I feel like they're struggling. It's always they're struggling. And it is like that for most. But I mean, she seemed like she had her crap together, man. She was, like you said, she could wrangle these boys and wrestle, quite literally wrestle with them to bond with them. And you can tell they have a very strong relationship as a family.
Yep.
And of course, they've got their soon-to-be potential stepfather,
right?
Who's the
main
town
man.
cop. Oh, it's so funny.
So good.
So ridiculous of a character.
Working hard or hardly working?
The classic like stepdad type thing to say too.
It's so perfect.
You're like trying to relate, but you can't. You're not there, and it's perfect. It was perfectly done.
And so what kicks off the story though for these brothers, right, is that the dad gives the youngest son a birthday present on his 16th birthday, promised that like they couldn't open it, and it turns out it's a wizard's staff and a jewel, like a gem, with a visitation spell that if they say the correct incantation, it's going to bring back the dad basically from the dead for 24 hours so that they'll get to spend one day with their dad. So we find out that the dad is very similar to the older brother and that he believed in magic and wizards and all these things. And that's what he left behind, which of course is silly because they leave it to the younger son who doesn't believe in any of this stuff. Right. And the dad wouldn't have known. But, you know, the older brother totally believes in this and is super excited. And, of course, the visitation spell goes wrong and they only get about half of them back from the waist down.
Yeah, and importantly, the older brother can't do it. He doesn't have the ability, quite literally, the magical ability, and the younger brother does. Which, again, this movie surprised me over and over. You know, you expect to see the older brother to be pissed, right? Why don't I have that ability? I'm the one who needs it. I'm the one who understands it. But he's like totally stoked that his little brother can do magic, and he's like all about it. I love the way that they do the brothers. I love that it's unexpected, at least for me, from what I see in most movies and TV shows. They're supportive. And so I thought that was, especially the older brother, that's supposedly like a screw up and kind of weird, but it was awesome.
Can I just say that I'm really happy with what the Pixar animators did with just literally from the waist down and a pair of legs. Like they give so much character to just the father's legs.
Yeah.
That like you don't need any more than that. Like I think it's such a great setup because there's all these like little sight gags and little, you know, kind of goofy slapstick things that kind of happen. And then the older brother, you know, to make it not seem, or the younger brother to make it not seem super weird, like stuffs, you know, a bunch of like pillows in a old sweatshirt and kind of ties it around to the body and puts like a hat on it. So it looks like a full, you know, body, but it's really just the lower half is the part that walks around and can kind of communicate by tapping the foot and whatnot. I thought that some of that stuff was just genius.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, and the way that they can make you feel with just half a person is like at the beginning when they first get the half person there, and you know, one of the only memories that Barley has of his father is playing drums on his feet, right? And he's able to do that with his dad. Like from the get go, I was like, oh gosh, how much am I going to cry in this movie? This is a bad gauge.
I'm going to cry over foot tapping.
Yeah, of a half person in a magical realm. It's like, oh my gosh, like this movie's gonna wreck me, and I don't even know where it's gonna go, but I know I'm gonna be wrecked by the end of it, and so I proved to be prophetic.
The boys take off on this journey to go find a new crystal or a new gem because the one gets destroyed. They take their half father with them, and they load up into the van Guinevere so they can go off on this epic journey to find the gem and restore their father so they can get time. And then along the way, they end up running into a manticore that, like, you know, knows where the gem's supposed to be and has got a map, except now the manticore runs a restaurant, and it's kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese version. We run into pixies that run a motorcycle gang. There's there's like the mom and the manticore end up having to try to get this sword that's the curse breaker, but they don't get that until they go to a pawn shop and get it back from like this I don't know, like this, like a little, not as troll, but like what is it? A gremlin. Yeah, like a gremlin or whatever. Anyway, it's this whole story of like, do you take the known path or do you take the off-beaten path? And the one brother wants to take the known path. Ian, the kind of the straight-laced guy, he doesn't want to take an adventure. He doesn't want to do that. He just wants to see his dad. Whereas the older brother, Barley, he wants that off the beaten path experience. He wants the adventure, the quest. And that kind of butts heads at times. Matt, I know you've got brothers. I've got a brother. Did that resonate with you at all? Where one brother's wanting to do one, one's wanting to do the other thing, and they're both trying to get to the same ending location, but two very different paths to get there?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. And there are so many parallels. I mean, I love Frozen. And I love the sister relationship, and I can still relate to that in my own way. But Onward was different for me, like you said, because this is a movie about brothers.
Yeah.
And having two of my own, one older and one younger, we each take different roles within that brother bond at different times. But yeah, my older brother is perfect in the ways that one could think of somebody being perfect, right? Just straight on, straight lace. I'm going to take the correct path to get there and going to put it in my GPS and we are going to go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, let's just see where the road takes us. I don't know how long it's going to take us. And I think it's reflective of the way that people live their lives too. I don't always take the straight path when probably I should. I make a lot of bad decisions in my life that take me down paths that are rocky and that are rough as part of my quest to get on the right path. And so, yeah, there's definitely a lot of that in a brother relationship, particularly in mine when I think about my brother being just a good dude who, in my eyes, always does probably the smart and the right thing. Although it may not be right for me, it's what's right for the most amount of people.
I watched this movie, and of course, I've got a younger brother who's 2.5 years younger than me, Josh. He's been on the podcast a number of times before. Most of the Super Friends are very familiar with my brother. But it's interesting because I watched this, and immediately I went, my brother is Ian, and I am Barley.
Mm-hmm.
Because my brother always seemed to be the very straightforward, let's just get from point A to point B, no fuss, no muss, let's do the right thing. And I'm kind of like that, yeah, we're going to get there, but, we kind of went off this way, and we had some fun, and we did this, and this was an adventure, and,
right.
A little bit more of a little more of a screw up, a little more of, just kind of a playing it loose and fast, and whatever kind of happens, but we'll get there in the end, and I'm, still kind of a good guy, right? So, I watched this, and I really identified with Barley, and I really saw a lot of, my brother and Ian, and so for me, I had this definitely more emotional connection than, of course, the father being gone, only made this stronger for me. But what I really thought was interesting is that when we get to the end of the movie, there's only going to be literally a minute or 2 minutes with the father. Just enough for a super maybe quick conversation. And I was fully anticipating that they were going to do something to restore the father and everyone was going to get a happy ending.
Yeah.
And when you get there, the younger brother Ian says, because he has this moment shortly before where he realizes that all the things he was looking for in a father, he actually had in his older brother. And you start looking back, at least for me, I started looking back and realizing that all the things that kind of happened, things we've already seen, and then the kind of little flashbacks, you realize that the older brother never treated his younger brother like a younger brother, but also kind of stepped in to fill that father role in a way, like helping to teach him to ride a bike and, get him to learn to swim and, playing catch with him and doing all these things, right? And I really like that because then it gave the emotional impact of Ian, the younger brother, saying like, you go say goodbye to Dad because you had a number of memories, a number of things, times with Dad when you were young, but you never got to say goodbye. I never got to know him. So for me, it would be too much of a conversation. Like there would be way too much like we would have to do, but you knew him, but you didn't end on good terms. So you go and say goodbye and you get closure that you need. I don't need that. Oh my gosh, I'm over here trying not to cry when this happens.
Yeah.
Because it was this, I don't know, man, it was this perfect like switch. Like, I don't want to say a bait and switch in like a negative connotation, but that's kind of what it was in like all the best possible ways. And I was not expecting that.
No, I wasn't either. I knew in the moment that that's what had to happen.
Yeah.
It was, but you don't know until that exact second, though. It's not like I didn't see it 5 minutes before that.
No.
I mean, it was highly emotional for me as well. Just highly emotional, just seeing the love. And I mean, that they all want to see him. The mom wants to see him.
Right.
She misses him. And the brother, Barley, wants to see him. Ian wants to see him. I mean, the whole movie is about Ian and his quest to find his dad. He never met Dad, and he's heard all these things about that, and he wants to know more about his dad, and he wants to be just like his dad, and he's got all these lists. He's got a list of things that his dad is. He's bold, and he wants to be those things. And then at the end of the movie, like you said, he has that moment of clarity and realization, and you see it happen, and that's when you start to feel it, and that's when I start to feel the tears, and then I start to see them as brothers, and then I start to see the sacrifice, and then I lose it, and then it's all over, and then I can't see the rest of the movie because it's too blurry. But no, that moment is so powerful, especially because he doesn't even get a good look at his dad.
No.
Ian. I mean, he's trapped, and he sacrificed himself to kill the dragon or the curse, right. And he peeps through, and he can see kind of Dad a little bit. And you can see the conversation, and then the hug. When the hug happens, it's just
that's too much.
I can't breathe.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm sobbing. I'm not okay. And Emmy's like, Daddy, what's wrong? Nothing. Shut up, child. This is an important part of the movie.
Like, when you get older, I'm going to talk to you about Field of Dreams. Then you'll understand. Yeah.
So it was...
Because, oh gosh, like, it is a Field of Dreams moment. Like that,
it is.
I said that, like, being funny, but that actually just kind of clicked.
Almost literally.
It literally kind of clicks with me because in the end, Ray Kinsella wants to say goodbye to his father and say the unspoken things that they never got to finish and say in real life.
Yep.
Like, oh my gosh, I'm just, boom, like I just blew my own mind here. Like literally, it is literally, if you build it, they will come. Look at that.
There you go.
Oh.
Yes. It, there was so much that happened along the way in the quest. That's so fun. And there's little bits of meaning that you see behind it. There's the conflict with the brothers when you find out that Ian really thinks that Barley's a screw up and, and what that means for their relationship and, how do they mend it? There's so many little things that we just don't have time to talk about. It's such a great movie. It's a classic kind of story, but portrayed and told in a way that was unique and different, with the character types being different than you expect, acting in ways that aren't the way you expect, but are consistent with the character.
Yeah.
It's so well done, so well written. It's funny because I almost didn't feel like I was watching a Pixar movie. And it had the emotion of Pixar, and I was trying to explain this to Jesse, and I just can't quite put my finger onto why this didn't feel, maybe because it just felt populated. And when I think about Pixar movies, they're pretty not populated. Like they usually don't take place like a Zootopia where it's this huge, town and there's a lot of moving parts.
Toy Story's all in Andy's room, right?
It's all very simple. I mean, Monsters Inc., right? There's only this certain set of characters, and it's not in a necessarily populated place. I mean, you see Metropolis, but it's not really,
right.
You don't interact with it. I mean, this is just a massive town, and there's all these different moving parts, and there's a story, and they're going places. And I've never seen that from a Pixar movie that I can think of. So it was really, really great.
I thought they balanced the sentimentality, the emotion with humor, with like real family drama, and in a very real, like positive way. Like, I don't feel like they ever went too heavy in one direction versus the other. So that like when they swung back from humor to drama or from drama to humor, like I never felt like it felt too disjointed. I felt like it was really smooth and easy to kind of like, just kind of float back and forth kind of between those kind of two things that I really thought the balance of the movie was really, really well done. I mean, there's humor in this whole like quest that they're going on. But like you touched on, there's also some like truth for these characters that they have to face and realize. And along the way, it's kind of also a coming of age tale for Ian, but it's not in the traditional, like, here's what we have to do necessarily. We got to have this moment. We got to have a girl show up and you got to have, it was not that, but they still hit kind of some of those tropes of a coming of age story while telling this story of these two brothers.
Yep.
Really, really well done.
Really. I mean, I don't know how else to say it other than I agree. There's so many parts that were so funny, like genuinely funny. I mean, my favorite, I laughed out loud when the dragon thing was forming.
Oh, yeah.
And then it turned its face and it was like that happy face from the logo of their mascot from the school. I was like, oh, that's really clever and super funny.
I also want to talk for a minute about the music. I don't know that I remember like any one song necessarily that's going to stand out, but I felt like all the music that was there, all the bits of the score and the soundtrack that was there, I thought was all pretty good. It all seemed to, I don't know, kind of like tie in everything, but I think there's only maybe like one like real song. I think the rest of it's pretty much just score.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it fit what the movie was to me. It wasn't. I mean, we're not watching Toy Story or Monsters Inc.
We're not watching Frozen. Like, it's not going to be something that everyone in America is going to be singing endlessly.
No, we're not getting that kind of iconic stuff. This was more of a score, like you said, like more epic, sweeping music when it needed to be, and less about you've got a friend in me.
Right.
And it worked for the movie.
Yeah.
I'm just, and that's what I think. And like I've said before about scores, I don't always notice them. It's not always a big part of the movie. I only notice them when they're really, really amazing, or when they take me out of the movie for a moment because they're wrong for what's happening. And I never noticed the music, which is a good thing.
Right. It didn't detract in any way that would pull you out of the experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was swelling when it needed to be swelling, and it was quiet when it needed to be quiet.
The only one part that I do really remember is when they stick in the tape that says "To Valhalla," and they shoot the van Guinevere off to go knock into the rock. Like, that was kind of fun, like funny, because like the music obviously was really like prominent in that moment. Yeah. But like that's like the only thing that I really visually can see and hear at the moment. And I literally just watched that, before we started recording. So like I would think that more of the music would be on my mind, because I do kind of look for that stuff when I watch a film. But not so much with this one. I think it was just a perfect score. It really did what it needed to do and didn't get in the way.
Yep, I agree. I agree.
There was a deleted scene that we've heard of. I think you can actually go see it, maybe even on Disney Plus. but apparently there was kind of this storyboard scene that they did where Ian, Barley, and the dad were joined by this girl, this goat girl, and they were going to come across some like evil mermaids, and the mermaids were going to kind of mesmerize the boys, and the goat girl was going to have to kind of save them and get them out of the trance or whatever. Kind of, a little bit of the Odysseus story there, right, with the sirens. But Disney said that they ended up cutting it because they felt that they wanted to focus more on the Ian and Barley relationship, and that also the scene just kind of, there was some other stuff that happened. The scene just felt a little too grim. But it's interesting to know that at one point there was another female character, so it was going to be kind of like the three of them on this journey with the dad. But then they decided, here's the real focus. This is what we're going to stick with. So
I'm glad they did that. I mean, this was never about like
finding a girlfriend or
it was never about finding a girl or doing this for a girl, or it was always about the dad and the relationship between like three men. Right. I mean, that's the reality of it. And I think that was, I mean, you don't get a lot of those.
Nope.
You just don't get a lot of that. And I'm not saying that, the boys don't get a lot of cool movies. We do, but I don't necessarily know that we get a lot of emotional movies about brotherhood. And it's cool when I feel like I get something that I relate to so directly. And not that I don't. Again, I love Frozen and Frozen 2. Frozen 2 is one of my favorite movies. I love that. But their sister, this hit me differently, like you mentioned, and hit you differently for different reasons than it hit me differently. But we have brothers, we have dads, we have these things, and it was, I don't know, it was amazing. It was so good.
It was good.
I can't.
No, I'm with you.
I don't know what else to say. It was great.
And I think it was Peter Christensen who said that Frozen 2 and Onward are probably going to help define this next generation of kids and maybe even animated Disney Pixar movies because of the ability to watch on Disney Plus. And right now, with so many people staying home and being home, I mean, this movie released on March 6th had one opening weekend, made almost 62 million domestically, and then total worldwide was like 103 million. And then literally it was pulled from the theaters because theaters were closed, and 2.5 weeks later, it was on Disney Plus. And so now we've got 50 plus million subscribers that are streaming this. I know that my boys have watched it probably 4 or 5 times. I've seen it twice already myself.
Yeah.
And I know that I'll probably end up seeing this and Frozen 2 quite a lot just because of kind of where we find ourselves in the world. But I really do think that we have in these two movies that came out in such a close time period and that we both got to see earlier than anticipated on Disney Plus, a story about 2 sisters and a story about 2 brothers. And I think that they do really well each individually. I think they resonate with different people for different reasons, but they're both, I think, really good stories about, the love and power of siblings. And I think that we get a lot of stories about, the love of a mother or the love of a father or the love between, a husband and wife or a prince and a princess or a prince saving a damsel in distress or what, whatever, kind of like the typical tropes. But to see a story about sisters and a story about brothers that are kind of don't feel like all the rest of the stuff we see, I think it's going to help these 2 movies stand apart. I really do.
Agreed. Completely agree.
And I'm okay with that.
Yes, I'm definitely okay with it. I will watch this movie very much a lot.
Very much a lot.
Very much a lot. I will watch these movies.
I also will watch it very much a lot. I don't know why that just struck me as funny.
They've also solidified that I only need 2 kids, so we're done.
There you go.
Frozen, 2 kids. Onward, 2 kids. They all seem happy. I'm cool. Now they need a movie about a brother and a sister. and then I'll be real set.
We had that. It's called Star Wars, Matt.
But they kiss, and I'm not cool with that, so we're not going to show them that movie. So
yeah, let's not encourage Emmy and Lando.
I'm not going to call that a sibling movie. Let's yikes. I don't know about that.
Too funny. So Matt, on a grading scale, the Schoolhouse grading scale, what kind of grade do you give Onward?
This is A+. This is probably, spoiler alert for my Pixars, this is going to be in my top 3. I already know it is. This touched me deeply, and that's the sign of a great movie for me, is how much it touched me. And this touched me more than most Pixar movies touch me. And Pixar movies almost always touch me.
I'm going to say, I'm going to say this is a solid A. And it's a solid A. I was going to say it's almost an A+ for me. I don't know. See, this is hard because I know that the question of the week is going to be what's your top 5 Pixar movies of all time? And I'm just trying to think for me, is this an A+ or is this just an A? What if it's an A? What would it have to do differently to be an A+?
Right.
What would be the last little thing that I would need to set it over the top? I'm going to give it a solid A.
Yeah,
because
I think that's fair.
I need more time to think about that. Yeah. No, I get that, but I'm trying to think, is it an A+? Because I'm trying to now start thinking ahead to the question of the week and where does that fall with all the other stuff? So
Right.
But on its own, it's a solid A movie. I would recommend this to anyone. I don't think there's any problems that I would have recommending it to anyone. So that's where I'm at. But Super Friends, we're going to make it difficult. Matt called it already.
Sorry.
We're going to make it difficult, though. Give us your top 5 Pixar movies in order. What is number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in order? Matt, I'm not going to ask you right now for your top 5 because I'm sitting here thinking, oh man, I don't know where I'm going to come with this list. I'm going to have to look at a list of Pixar movies and then do some eliminations and, kind of go through some stuff and get to where I want to be. So yeah, that's going to be a little hard one, but
it's tough.
We'll talk about it next week.
To be clear though, we need to make this clear to everybody. This is Pixar only. The Frozen movies are not Pixar.
No.
Moana is not Pixar.
No, it's Disney.
We are going just Pixar. Okay? Yep. Pixar. If I hear a freaking Disney movie only next week, I'm going to delete you from the Twitter.
Oh, Matt.
Because I can do that. I can delete you from Twitter.
That's true. You do know Mr. Twitter.
I do. He's a really nice guy. Anyway.
All right, Super Friends. We'll make sure we get that out to you so you can get those answers in. I will actually try to put that question that we got early because I know it's probably going to require some thought and some elimination process. You might have to do a bracket to get down to your top one. I don't know. Whatever your process is going to be, but we want to say thank you once again for coming back week after week and spending your time with us. We know that, some of you aren't commuting like you used to when you'd listen to us, but the fact that you still take time out of your crazy busy at home weeks to listen to us, we do appreciate it. So from all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude to all of you out there, wherever you may be, may the Force be with you always.